Well, why don't you kick it off? Like what's number one? Yeah, let's just do it, man. I like it.
All right, let me pull out my list. Yeah, I mean, it actually wasn't hard. I was just like sitting there, and it all kind of flowed out. And and it's not all NASCAR related. Like, okay, so the first one is F1 becomes more competitive, and equally, I hope IndyCar has more mainstream appeal. That's my first wish for racing in 2024.
Yeah.
And it's because I like F1 and they have so much popularity. Like, whether we like it or not, they're the most popular racing series.
Nationally,
when it comes to, but when it comes to
internationally,
when it comes to competitiveness, they're terrible, right? There's no parity. It's just manufacturer driven. And, so like it would be more entertaining and better for the brand of racing itself, like all of racing, if F1 became more competitive. And I think that it would be cool. I mean, I want F1 to succeed. And to me, although they're succeeding in terms of popularity, I mean, they have, 3 races in the U.S. now? I personally want to be incentivized to watch them because right now I'm not. Like, I know who's going to win.
Right, and me neither.
And it's been like that for a long time, Before it was Red Bull and Verstappen, it was Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes, and it's just like a manufacturer thing. And I don't know, I really don't like that. I've joked about it, but I would love for that to actually improve.
I think they would benefit from like a NASCAR model where because like right now there's like no rules in F1. You kind of just do whatever you want.
And this is what IndyCar does.
Yeah. Sorry, what were you saying, Mitch?
Oh no, I was saying that. Yeah, I mean over time, and then Vettel was before Hamilton, where he won everything. And with Red Bull, so it's kind of weird how Verstappen kind of just filled that void or that little
became
time.
That guy.
Yeah. But yeah, you're right. I don't know how they're gonna get there though, just because of how much technology and what they got going on with these cars.
Yeah.
And it's road racing too. It throws a different element. I mean, if they make them like stock cars, but I mean, I don't know, because the cars are just so grippy. They're just so fast and grippy.
They really are,
they're powerful. I think they're beautiful. Like engineering wise, it's beautiful. I really do. They might not race well, but I just would love to see one in person. You know how fast they go. Just the sound on TV.
They go fast enough to lift up sewer grates. We learned that.
Yeah.
Oh, that was. Oh yeah, I saw that.
Sorry, is it still too soon to bring that joke up?
It's nothing against Vegas, but. They talked about going, like, they did go to Vegas, but like when I went to Vegas twice, I didn't think the infrastructure was really that like good. I mean, obviously the buildings were great, but when it came down to like when you're walking on the streets and you're looking at the roads and you're looking at how things are maintenance, I'm like, we're gonna race an F1 race here with all that horsepower and things like.
Yeah.
I mean, there's like homeless people living underneath the.
Supposedly they repaved the streets
probably
this
had
year.
homeless people underneath them while they were racing.
Yeah.
They got front row seats.
They heard it all. I mean, like
I'm sure they got kicked out too, along with everyone else.
Right.
Do you think F1 would ever do an oval race?
no.
No,
I go
absolutely
against
not.
all the
Dangerous.
principles.
But how cool would that be? Like
We have IndyCar for that, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess that's
And
true.
they got rid of most of that too. If they
I
if they
know.
bring more ovals to IndyCar, I could totally.
Okay,
I could
so
do it.
that was like
That'd be
my
nuts,
1B.
though.
It was like I hope IndyCar gets more mainstream appeal because I think they have like I was thinking of F1 and how I want them to succeed, and then I was thinking like what you said. Well, F1 is never going to stop being a manufacturer, engineering-led thing. They're always going to be competitive in the engineering side of things. It's never going to be, what's the word I'm looking for? A spec car, like IndyCar. Well, IndyCar, and this has been a topic in Open Wheel, and we haven't discussed this, but like there are people in IndyCar that think that, like, hey, the best drivers are here because we have the most competition. It's way harder. And all that to say, I would love for Open Wheel, this is the racing purist to me, I would love for Open Wheel to find a natural balance where they have more appeal. And that includes IndyCar. Like I want to look forward to watching IndyCar races.
Like if they go to Pocono, I'd probably go.
I mean, it could be dangerous.
It is, but I've been to one of the races there, and it's like Daytona.
They should be going.
Well, what's the difference?
Too.
What's IndyCar?
It's Open Wheel. Are you familiar with like what that looks like?
They would go to Pocono. We should take you. I was gonna say.
Yeah,
that's true. You live like 30 minutes from there.
Away
Yeah.
Well, and one thing, like I'll piggyback while you're pulling up that photo. You had talked about how to get more mainstream appeal. One thing that
imagine
F1
crashing
did,
going 230 into a corner with that.
Oh, they're nuts.
People die.
That would be.
People die. That's
would
the
be
problem.
bad.
and some guy almost died at Pocono
What's the difference
last
between
time.
that and the other one you were talking about?
Formula One. Formula One's an international series. I mean, this technically is.
Is it the same type of car though?
It's similar. It's open wheel.
close.
It looks
Yeah.
similar.
Yeah,
It's
F1
actually
Because that's what I
faster.
knew. Yeah.
Yeah, the F1 cars are just
Yeah.
every piece on that car is a lot of money. Like
So it's
it's
similar
insane.
looking, but they're
Oh,
definitely
okay. It's a
different.
little. Like,
Yeah.
I thought I read
Bigger
something.
wheelbase, etc.
One of the,
But I'll piggyback real quick. You were talking about like growing the public eye or whatever for the
Yeah.
sport. You know, one thing that F1 did really, really well was that Netflix series, Genius.
Yeah.
And I think why it works is you put a personality behind the sport, because now like the average person sees, you know, Verstappen or Hamilton or whatever, and then they fall in love with the personality, which gets them into the sport. The last year and a half, 2 years, Scott McLaughlin and Joseph Newgarden from Team Penske have been doing their Bus Bros thing on YouTube. It's freaking hilarious. It's fantastic. And that has actually gotten me into IndyCar, because now like I get to see these two personalities. And then when they're racing, I go, oh, there's Scotty Mack. Oh, there's Newgarden. And then, of course, Newgarden won the biggest race of the year, the Indy 500. So I was like, oh, this is like really cool. So I think the more you can get personalities out there is good. And now that I have certain IndyCar people that I follow on Twitter, I'm starting to see some of the other things from the personalities in the sport, and it's really freaking funny. And I'll be honest, Scotty Mack and I think Newgarden are probably the best two as far as personalities and pushing it out there. But I think if you can do more of that, it's going to help grow the brand of the sport, and then parlay that right into NASCAR. I mean, look at some of the best personalities in NASCAR are the ones that have grown it. Like Ross Chastain is a personality. You
Yeah.
love him or you hate him, but we're gaining Ross Chastain fans. Like we just saw, he was like number 5 in merch sales this year, or number 4. He was pretty high.
Yeah, that's why I brought him up about the
Yeah.
Pat McAfee show, because he's getting that mainstream exposure.
Exactly. And it's perfect. Like that's what brings fans. And I'm hoping, obviously, with the NASCAR Netflix series that's coming out sometime Q1 2024, that it does the same thing.
Yeah,
and
fingers
that,
crossed.
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Because personalities are what wins it. I mean, that's when I became a Blaney fan, was because of his podcast. I was listening to Glass Case of Emotion, and I was like, man, I really like this guy. And then right when I start listening to his podcast, he goes and wins the race at Pocono in the 21 car.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, I think this guy's got something. And then that was where my Blaney fandom came from. And it all originated from getting to see his personality in the podcast. So I love it. The more you can push personalities, the more your sport's going to grow.
Presentation matters, you know, when you're talking
really
about
does.
this. It's amazing because F1 really inherently isn't that competitive. Like, if you're a racing diehard, it's cool, and some people like it for the engineering marvel that it is, but it's not competitive, really. I mean, it's just
Not
not
at all. No,
I
it's
mean,
not.
obviously. So, but, you know, it has those eyes. And so that actually goes into number 2. I guess I'll go pretty quick here. Number 2 on my wish list is we get Speed Channel back in some form. Now,
I like that.
I was thinking like, well, I don't watch TV, so maybe this is just like from a bygone era, but like what it is, this is what I want. I'd love to have all of my racing highlights in a consolidated form. So if like Speed Channel was just a like just a YouTube channel where they uploaded, you know, where they had like series, maybe, hey man, maybe this is like a business idea. Like, what are we doing? Like, maybe we should be doing this, like fill the void, right? I don't know. But like, seriously, I would love to have, you know, open wheel V8 supercars, NASCAR stock cars, dirt track, you know, late models, all this stuff, all consolidated where I can get this information where it's like, oh, well, I like NASCAR and I'm watching this, but then like, here, let me check out the open wheel highlights from this weekend. You know what I mean? And Speed Channels did that back in the day. Now, I don't know if I'd watch TV, but like what it did is it consolidated all of that information and it made me interested in motorsports in general.
I like that
I would
idea.
love to have that.
So
Is that something Flo's working towards? I feel like that's...
Maybe Flo would do that. I was thinking that, yeah.
well, I'll tell you that just working at Speed Sport, those conversations happened a lot.
Okay.
A lot. Speed Sport talked about that. Racing America wanted to do something like that, didn't have the bandwidth. Flo is trying to do that, but they don't have the rights to kind of put all the
that's
NASCAR
true.
stuff on
That's
there.
a big variable.
So
It is, yeah.
it's it's competitive. Like someone's looking to fill that void. It hasn't been filled yet, and they're all trying to. And the problem is like no one has came up with whatever Speed had, whatever that niche was.
Yeah.
Because even when they try to bring stuff back, they're still missing a part. Either
I feel like personalities are a big part too, because remember
Yeah.
you had the Dave Despain wind tunnel.
You
that
can't-
is 90% of the time what I associate Speed Channel with.
You're right, and I think you nailed something there. Where
We're available for higher flow.
well, that and 80%, I think, is really like you said, the personalities, and then as long as you have the network and the schedule behind it, like they changed Speed to FS1. I was like, this sucks.
It
You
lost
know?
the identity completely.
It lost its identity,
Yeah.
but they thought, I guess, the motorsports world was dwindling, but it's still a niche, right? But the problem is now there's so many avenues to get your information.
Well, that's just it. I
Yeah.
don't think that. I mean, it did. Okay, so racing fandom did go down, but I do think presentation was the issue. Like
I don't think
people
it
were
was-
just changing the medium that they get information
Yeah,
from.
I
So
don't
of course
think it was-
viewership is going to go down.
Yeah, I don't think it even
So-
went down. I think, like you said, it's just more the medium of it.
Exactly.
Any of the current people that are trying to do that, are they doing it like on a subscription based platform, or are they doing it for free on YouTube?
So it's like I know it's Speed Sport. I tried to convince them to do ad supportive. Being the sales guy, and they wouldn't do it. They want to do a subscription. They couldn't get anybody because no one's going to pay X amount for something they don't even know when you can get it for free on YouTube. I was trying to explain.
True.
The stuff is on YouTube for free. I watch it.
Yep.
I watch it. Like I'm telling you.
You've got to make it ad supported, and that's Dirty Mo's been killing that.
But I don't think it's
something they do
even
really
that.
well.
I think it's just you have to have the quality too.
Sure,
The
100%.
quality and the lineup. And I honestly think Dirty Mo might be in the best spot to do something like that. They could easily turn that into something like a network or a streaming platform, Dirty Mo Media's app or the streaming app. And then what they do is they just play all the podcasts all day and have like schedules throughout the day, and then maybe incorporate some TV shows that they can do in house. Like I really think they got the right idea. Mike Davis is a go-getter with that kind of stuff.
He is.
I think they're working towards that with Denny Hamlin and his podcast, and I think they got a good thing going. But if anybody, I think they're the ones that are going to do it because Dale has a lot of pull.
Yeah, that would
Yeah.
be cool. And that was another side thought I had when you brought that up. I was like, man, I wonder if Dirty Mo could actually.
They could easily, but my problem is when
Bandwidth is big, obviously.
it is, yeah, and just making sure that the numbers line up with the work and everything. So
I think the biggest problem is intellectual property, because if you get to a certain point where you start to fill this niche and you're no longer an amateur, all these racing seers are going to go, hey, why are you monetizing our product? And then they're going to like hit you with copyright infringement, which is what NASCAR has been doing to creators lately.
Driving me nuts.
Have you seen this?
Yeah,
I haven't.
it's stupid.
I don't
Yeah.
really. I just like if they put like, are they using their footage to like show B-roll?
I mean,
stuff?
from what I understand, if you're doing YouTube content that uses NASCAR clips, NASCAR is demonetizing your content.
Yeah. Well, they have the right to.
But it's so stupid
The
because
legal right to, but I think it's BS.
Oh, I
hate
think so,
Yeah,
intellectual
but if the
too.
property.
goal is to get eyes on the sport
Exactly.
itself, wouldn't it be more beneficial
100%.
overall?
Oh, I agree.
100%.
So it's
But it's
basically
greed.
people higher up that don't have
well,
any.
and what
Yeah.
ticks me off about that whole thing. Sorry, we're going down a trail
Sure
now, but you
are. I
brought
like
this
it.
up because
I'm learning so much.
you know, from me as a fan, and I'm even a fan, so I'm already in the door.
Yeah.
Like I'm even further along than the person you're trying to reach. I look at what content I consume as a fan, and I look at what content I consume that comes from NASCAR versus third parties. I don't consume jack squat that comes out of NASCAR.
Oh,
Everything I
the last place
watch
I go.
is third party because it's Dirty Mo. I follow Taylor's organization now. I started following all their stuff. People that follow us, you know, and then some of the other content creators I've been kind of working with, like Danny B Talks, Eric Stepp, all that stuff. They have all really good stuff.
Yeah.
And I realized that I do not follow anything from NASCAR. So now NASCAR, the people that are probably the most effective at marketing, NASCAR just shot them in the foot.
Yeah.
All over some monetization money. Are you freaking kidding me? It's so stupid.
Yeah, they have Race Hub, but it's not that great. That's sort of my take.
It's not.
I
And
would
that's not
rather
even
watch
them.
the
That's
smaller
Fox.
creators. Yeah,
It
yeah.
Yeah.
could be great. It's just that, it's been the same thing. And the problem is they hire the same personalities for the last 20 years.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like Kyle Petty. We don't need Kyle Petty anymore. I'm
good.
sorry. We
I'm
don't
good
need
with
Dale
him.
Jarrett.
We know you're good with it.
Let's get someone fresh.
Hey, Blaney won a championship, Petty. Suck it.
I just want some like I just miss like the people that just say what they think. I know Kyle Petty does that, but he doesn't really have a He just says whatever.
He kind of does.
Think of how much more rich the media would be if Dirty Mo and these people actually had racing highlights, right? Blatantly, like a 10-second clip of what they're talking about. Like people would be like, "Oh, I'm new to this. What are they talking about?" Well, if you didn't watch the race, you don't know what they're talking about. But if they can show you the highlight right there, they can string you along visually about like this is what happened.
Yeah,
that matters.
They could do that. They just have to pay.
Well, that's just it.
And
I wonder how much that would be.
So Speed Sport had something where they paid an X amount of rights to have them work on our website and we share content. So the stuff we would put on Speed Sport would show up on NASCAR.com to help fill their void.
Gotcha. Sorry, I didn't follow.
Yeah, so I don't know what the numbers were, but Dale Jr. could afford it.
I'm sure.
Like that. Even Dirty Mo itself as an organization, they're making money. They're making money.
Surely, yeah.
To run a podcast, the biggest upkeep is your people that you're paying to talk.
Right.
Everything else, technology, things like that, but people to work behind the scenes and get that going.
That's your biggest number.
Yeah,
for sure.
But they could probably negotiate something. Problem is, now NASCAR knows who that guy is. Does the price change because we know it's Dale Jr. We know
and that's where I get frustrated because those people are promoting the sport.
I know.
So as a NASCAR, say I'm running NASCAR as my organization, why don't I just fire my marketing department or part of my marketing department and then take that funding and go to Dirty Mo and say, hey, I love what you're doing. Can we invest X amount per year in Dirty Mo and then you produce A, B, C, D, E? Because like NASCAR's marketing department doesn't do anything. They're like Brett Griffin's constantly ripping them apart for activation, which he's not wrong. Like their activation sucks, and really their social media content is okay, but like
they don't hire people that are passionate about the sport.
They don't, and that's where
I've applied like a lot, and a lot of the rejections like just like they do a pool. They pull from like 200 people, and they have like these rounds. And you have like 6 rounds to go through or something, 3 or 4 rounds. And you start with 200 people, you go down to 80, you go down to 60. It's not based on passion or things like that. It's based off of like it's all like academics and what your past is and things like that. And a lot of people they hire aren't even fans of the sport.
Right.
Have you seen their TikToks?
Yeah, and they need to have, there's got to be something.
Which
you should, because it's like there's people talking. There might be like one person there. I'm like, he's a genuine race fan. But the other ones are like, this is a job.
I believe it.
It's Christmas
They're
Eve.
just influencers that they give them some money to say.
They're not even
to go to a
influencers.
race.
They're just 9 to 5ers. Just like that's what I am. I mean, like that's nothing wrong with that. But when you don't have passion behind what you're doing, it changes your creativity, especially with communication and marketing. That's the most creative thing you have there. So why wouldn't you put someone in place that is willing to love the sport for what it is and put that spin on it?
I think it's
having
great.
someone just just making a tweet to make $1.
Man.
Doesn't Dale Jr. The download, the main show, isn't the podcast on Peacock?
Well, something? It's NBC. Yeah, they bought. So it is. They do use their podcast on NBC.
Did NBC buy out?
It's a negotiation, but they didn't buy them out. Rights. But they have partial rights of Dale Jr.'s download.
That's what I was wondering, and I was wondering if they would get some sort of like streaming rights out of that.
They're getting money from NBC, so they're.
And same with Dirt Vision and Door Bumper Clear because they have.
They got Dirt Vision on there too. So they're doing the right things.
Boy,
it's just the bandwidth and getting everything all. I think it's in place. It's going to happen. The Denny Hamlin thing, doing that was like a spark of kind of changing some things with that because his was different. Is at his house. The most controversial guy in the sport is podcasting at his house with I don't know who the heck the other guy is. His buddy.
His PR guy.
It doesn't. They are 2 different personalities.
Yeah.
I have no idea how.
Which works.
It works. But I'm like, I would never thought Denny would have like Denny Hamlin's so unique in his own way where everything's just.
Well, yeah, we could go into a Denny rant.
He's been great for the sport. He's been great for the sport.
We got way further in the weeds on Christmas wish list than I thought we would, but that was good.
I know. Well, hopefully
I'm taking a multivitamin, so my brain's clearer than usual.
I think the next several will go pretty quick. So,
okay. All right,
number 3, I mean, we can touch on this briefly because it is relevant since the last time we talked. NASCAR. My third wish is that NASCAR adds horsepower to the Cup cars and fixes the next gen.
And I think we're all in agreement there.
Yeah. So we kind of talked about that, and what Denny said, we all agree with, and
hands down.
Doesn't seem like it's going to happen, is it?
No.
It's disappointing.
If they keep getting enough crap, I keep thinking maybe, but man, they just, I don't get it. I just don't get it.
Do you remember when fans went to the track and they'd have like the COT and then it would be crossed out because they didn't want the COT? No, it didn't do anything.
Oh, yeah,
but it was
yeah.
mainstream enough among the fans that they were like, "This thing sucks. We don't like it."
And it didn't last very long.
There was like a grassroots anti-car of tomorrow contingent of fans.
Well, and
contingency.
what's helping the fan pool is every time NASCAR comes out and says, "Well, we just can't look at more horsepower because it's not feasible," and then every time a motor manufacturer comes out and goes,
"Yeah, we can.
Actually, we could do it tomorrow."
Yeah.
Like,
it's got to be for insurance reasons, right? It has to be.
I don't even know because Robert Yates made the first time Steve Phelps said that. Robert Yates came out the next day and was like, "Do you want 850 horsepower? Because like, give me 20 minutes in the back and I can have it for you in an hour." And then he made the comment, 3 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago? It was very recent. And the next day, the Chevy guy came out and was like, he basically said the same thing Robert Yates did, where he's like, it's right here. Like, we already played with it. It's ready to go.
There's nobody in NASCAR, not the actual organization itself, but as far as all the drivers, the teams, the engine builders, everyone is pro adding horsepower.
Yes.
There's nobody saying no to it. None.
And the team owners, which supposedly that's who we're protecting, and the team owners are the ones going, no. Like Denny made the comment, we run the most expensive 600 horsepower motor in the world. He said when we went from 850, where they were before on the short tracks, to whatever we're at now, 625 or 645, he's like, our bills did not change because now in some ways we're spending more in R&D because one baby piece of a lifter is 1 horsepower, which is huge. So now we're spending more money getting further in the weeds because there's less horsepower to work with. So I'm 100% with you.
Apparently it's something to do with insurance, but like how many times are they going over 200 miles per hour or something like that? Like they're supposed to keep it under that. That's what I heard.
Really?
Yeah.
I haven't heard that one before. That's a new one for me.
I heard it on Carson Hocevar's iRacing Twitch stream.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
He was talking about it. He didn't say it for sure, but he alluded to it, and I was like, okay, well, that makes sense, because why else? It's going to be more entertaining. Sure, it's more dangerous, but the people that literally have skin in the game in the car are saying, we don't care. We know the risk. Yeah, we just want to go fast. Anyway, I digress. Number 4 on my wish list is that the podcast takes off.
Hey!
I know we're not actually number 1 or number 2, but I would love for that to actually, enter, I would love for us to take off. We put all this work into it. I think we could do it. We're only going to get better. I've watched a lot of podcasts throughout the years, and over the course of a year or two, you look back at like the beginning, it's like, oh wow, they really came a long way, and I can tell that's going to happen for us too.
I think so too,
and I think that'll actually help us. But that's my hope, and
I like that.
Yeah.
Bianchi actually made a comment on the last episode of the Teardown this year that it wasn't until year 4 or 5 that they saw growth, and we're starting to. Wow. I mean, each season for us has been better, and we do thank you guys that have been joining. Like, it's so awesome. I love that you guys listen to this. So, obviously the goal is just keep moving up trajectory. Yep. So I like it.
Yep. Number 5 is no more rain at races.
Oh man,
I was thinking,
if you find a solution for that
so in Pennsylvania, I was thinking maybe we could work in shifts. Like we should drive in circles around the state of Pennsylvania.
Just kind of
vortex theory around the whole state.
There you go.
Yeah. So that was my thought. I mean, that
like
one's very
solid.
obvious. Number 6, fix the Fox booth because presentation matters. Obviously, I was thinking about presentation a lot with racing.
Fox again.
Painful.
Yeah. So this is what I would do. I have the fix. It's real easy. Mike Joy, Kevin Harvick, Jamie Mack, and Larry Mack. No more Clint Boyer. Get him out of here.
Ooh, that's a hot take.
Look, to me, that's how I feel.
Yeah.
I was over Darrell Waltrip. Yeah, I had to think about it. Darrell Waltrip, because of his look. I know it's a redneck sport, but like he wore thin on me, especially as he got old, and I don't want to say senile, but like
he was.
He was a little bit like, what are you?
It was like 2020. He was like, oh, the Ford Taurus is out there at Sonoma. I said, it's a Mustang.
Yeah, he was past his prime. And here's what I have to say about Clint Boyer. I felt bad for a little bit because I was like, oh, like, would I say this to his face? And it's like, this is my balanced, honest take on it. I hated when Jeff Gordon was up there, and I love Jeff Gordon.
Yeah.
Right? So it's nothing personal. It's just, I don't think it's good for the brand. We know NASCAR on Fox has been really bad, and I think that would fix it. I think Jamie McMurray needs to be in the booth. That's my opinion. But and Larry Mack, too. Number 7 is Kyle Larson wins the Indy 500.
I love it.
I mean, that would be cool, right?
That'd be
He
pretty
deserves the credit mainstream for how good he is, and I think that would be an awesome thing. So that's just on my wish list.
It's a good wish list.
Yep. Number 8 is Ross Chastain wins 3 races next year instead of 2 because he won 2 the last 2 years.
That's true. You got a break. Yeah.
Yep. He got that second one in this year right at the buzzer.
Right at the buzzer.
And I hope he makes the Final Four because obviously he can win at Phoenix. So that's, that's a personal one for me. My 9th one is Jimmy Johnson is competitive, and I hope I get to see him race in person.
Could happen.
Are you guys going to the Coke 600?
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay, he's going to be there, I think.
And he's going to be there, so you got to come.
I should, right?
All right, let's talk details on that.
Yeah,
We've got to
we'll
make
get to
that happen. Yeah.
And then number 10, in that same vein, is for 2024, I hope to go to more dirt races.
Nice.
Yeah.
There you go.
I like it. Which we can do. And that's the easiest thing to make happen.
I know, right?
They're right in our backyard.
Yeah.
What's on your? Sorry, I assume you ended at 10.
I don't know.
You're good.
Okay.
I think a lot of it was on that list too. I mean,
Yeah.
we talked about a lot of it. Just sport to grow, just get better. You guys know what I'm going to say.
I know you love this car.
The car, man. Yeah.
You want the
car's
number
great.
back in place, right?
I love the number. I want the number to be back in place. That'd be great too. I just wish it's a good season. I mean, just healthy. Hope it's a fun season. Hope it's better than last year.
Yep, I like it.
Your list was pretty good. So
it was a good list, and honestly, I'm pretty much just going to parlay off your list. So selfishly, obviously, I want my boys to win.
Yeah,
I want Allgaier to win a championship. My gosh, Justin, just pull it off, bro. I just want to see Justin Allgaier win an Xfinity championship. That's probably highest. Obviously, I'd love to see Blaney go back to back. I'd love to see Blaney win the 500, which I think is very doable. It's been one on the list. But my main focus, and I'm kind of going to go with what you said. So I have been on this weird kick the last couple of weeks of watching races from 2001. So 2001 is when I got into NASCAR. The race that Dale Earnhardt died in was my first ever race, which talk about a weird race to start watching NASCAR on. But that whole season was what got me hooked. So I had this weird thought, and I was like, man, I kind of want to watch these races again just because in my head, the 2001 season was supreme. So I really wanted to go back and just watch a couple of them 20 plus years later just to look at them and go, okay, like, were they actually that good? Or was I just like a kid that this was new? And where I've kind of landed. So I watched so far 3 or 4 of them, including my first ever race I attended, which was the race after 9/11 at Dover that Dale Jr. won.
Wow.
Yeah, first ever NASCAR race I was in attendance at.
That place was
oh my
lit,
gosh,
man.
dude. The energy was insane.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing I remember. But I can say with confidence, the 2001 NASCAR Cup Series package, 10 out of 10. It was so freaking good. Cars were on edge all the time. Drivers were on edge all the time. You had natural cautions of guys that were just running a little too hard. You had tire wear. Like, holy crap. The tire wear at Dover was insane, and nothing at Dover has changed. So it's obviously not a track thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's 100% a Goodyear and NASCAR Cup car. In the interest of fairness, I want to give credit to where we're at. I like the personalities of 2023 better. I think NASCAR has done a better job in that department because a lot of the personalities now really show. I think if we could migrate this car more towards what we had in 2001 with some of the gains that we have now, we could 100% replicate that season. And I think the next gen has potential, but we got to drop some pride. There's a couple things on that car that NASCAR needs to go, hey, we missed the boat on, we're going to fix it. Don't know if we're going to get there, but that's what needs to happen. So my biggest wish list would be to see another 2001 season because it was so good. Like, just the racing product, the comers and goers, cars hard to drive, cars being so hard to drive that drivers get pissed. Like, oh my gosh, the Bristol night race in 2001, that was insanity. Like I just finished watching it yesterday, and it was like almost exhausting to watch, but it was so good because everyone was just on edge all the time. So I would just, it was so good. Like I hate to keep saying the same thing, but that is my wish list. If we could get another 2001 NASCAR Cup season, I would be ecstatic.
I mean, it's fantastic. You nailed it. Go off.
Go off. Dan, in the 24 hours you've been a NASCAR fan, what's on your wish list?
My wish list is to follow a full season.
I like this.
Yeah.
So, as you guys, as seasoned professionals of spectators of the sport, somebody brand new coming in, brand new season, what are the things I should pay attention to, things that would be intriguing to get me more into it to follow?
I would just study the drivers and see what lines up with your personality, your values, and all things like that. We have a lot of drivers that have different personalities, all the way from Denny Hamlin to Justin Allgaier and things like that, with their faith and all that. So like, there's just be open. Don't worry about. I say don't worry about results. Me personally, if I have to relate to the driver, I feel like to root for them. And Corey, I feel like me and him, we have a lot of like values that are similar, and his personality. I enjoy what he does and things like that. So I would just say, just take this season and just be open to everything. I know Nolan, I mean, it was on my vlog. He's like, all right, I'm officially going to be a Ross fan. So you literally were in that stage. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm sure you got some advice too to give to Dan about finding a new driver and things like that.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's why I thought of it earlier. Like, how do we pick our favorite drivers? Like, what actually makes it happen? It's interesting. I mean, I guess we all have to get into it for our own reasons. And, if it appeals to you, I hope it does. It starts off, well, the Coliseum might not be that interesting, but
it might be
the small
though.
Track.
It's the smallest.
Yeah.
It's in a football stadium.
Quarter-mile track in a football stadium.
Yeah, literally.
Yikes.
It's the LA Coliseum. They pave it.
Of course, Los Angeles would be doing something like that.
Well, they're trying to appeal to that market. So,
yeah.
They're trying. That's their way of appealing.
It's been interesting. I don't hate it as a season opener. I think it's kind of fun. I know the teams hate it.
It's not a points race. It's just like a
bragging rights, basically.
Yeah,
it's all.
Yep.
It's like the Pro Bowl, but entertaining.
So NASCAR always, the good thing about NASCAR is like it always starts off with a bang, and that's the Daytona 500. So
yeah,
I mean, it's lit. So hopefully if that doesn't get you hooked, I don't know what would. Maybe short track racing or something. But
I think my number one recommendation, if you can make it to a race.
That's true. That's true.
It is. TV tries really hard. I appreciate what TV does. It keeps it to us no matter where we are. But the in-person experience is second to none.
That's absolutely true.
Like the energy, the everything. So, and actually, we had loosely talked about trying to do Dover this year. So if that's still an option, we should try to make that happen. Because I think when you get there in person, it's a completely different experience.